everyone, I'm Stella, and from the time I turned 12 to now at the age of 17, I've been allergic to water. Can you imagine not being able to sweat, cry, or even take a hot bath without having a bad allergic reaction? Well, that's what I've had to deal with every day since the first time I had a breakout. It sounds crazy when I put it that way, but it's true. I'd been diagnosed with a water allergy disease when I was just a child, and my mom hasn't allowed me to sweat ever since then. It all began one day in gym class, with all of my friends watching me run laps. They had already finished their laps, but I was the slowest in the class. I started to become embarrassed of what I looked like. My belly was too big, my legs weren't powerful enough for me to even climb a rope. I was simply overweight and now at the age where I was starting to grow self-conscious. Coach Daryl announced that this week would be a different type of exercise. This would be a physical workout for the body to get your blood pumping and body sweating. Little did I know what would become of my life after trying to run the first 3 laps of the course. Everything started off fine. Coach was screaming at me to run faster, and the hot air of May wasn't that bad yet. Every couple of minutes, Coach Daryl would give me a narrow-eyed stare as if to tell me, "Move faster." As the time moved forward, my lungs started to wheeze, and my huffing and puffing was a clear signal for me to stop running. I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of the entire 6th grade. I had to keep going. The sun was heated, burning the skin on my shoulders. And this is when it happened. Sweat started to drip down my forehead. Before, it had just been a light layer of sweat on my body. But now it was getting bad. It felt as if it was raining on me. 20 minutes had passed, and I was the last person running. It couldn't get any worse from this embarrassment, I thought to myself. But it did. Little red patches were starting to appear on the areas that were sweaty. My arms and neck, even my chest was having a breakout of some sort. I was starting to itch as bumps formed everywhere. It was as if I had been bitten by a swarm of mosquitoes, except there were no bugs around me. I tried to ignore the itching, but it started to swell into hives that I just couldn't ignore any longer. Everyone watched as I neared them, scratching everywhere and crying hysterically about being so itchy and irritated. What's happening to me? Coach Daryl immediately moved into action as he crouched down by me and inspected the hives. He told me that maybe I'd eaten something I was allergic to or used a lotion I wasn't supposed to. He observed, rubbing at his bearded chin and taking off his sports cap, confused. He instructed one of my friends, Callie, to walk me to the nurse's office so that my parents could be called. Our school nurse usually had remedies for everything and was super nice. Lollipops were things she'd always give out when we felt sick. That day, there were no lollipops, and she had no remedy. She didn't want to put a cream on my rash and irritate me even more, so she just gave my parents a ring. She made it sound urgent to my ears. I hadn't known that a rash could get so serious, but her tone was quick and panicked. My mom rushed out of her job as a receptionist at a hotel just to pick me up and take me to the emergency room. During the car ride, she kept glancing at me, as if to see any changes. Maybe she thought my hives would burst at any moment, but that just wasn't likely. I was conscious and tempted to scratch the hives until I felt as satisfied as a dog being given a belly rub, but she told me not to touch them. By the time we got to the hospital, my hives were starting to go away. The nurses immediately asked me all sorts of questions. They took my weight, looked down my throat, checked my temperature, but they were just as baffled as us. The nurses sat down with me and tried to piece together everything I did and ate before this happened. So I told them exactly everything I did. I tried to explain in the best way that I could, and the nurse seemed happy with what I told her. She wrote it down and told us that the doctor would be in with us shortly. When the doctor finally came in, he had them run some tests on me. He had theories of what it could be. Some type of water allergy. It was rare, and he'd never had a case of it in that hospital before. This made me start to worry of what could become of me. Would I never be able to swim again? Or no bubble baths? What about drinking water? How would I survive? They ran a test called the water test, which was just them putting an ice cube on my arms and seeing if there would be any reaction. We waited 15 minutes to see if anything would happen, but it was all okay. I immediately felt some relief in my mind. Maybe I just ate something funny and I'm not actually allergic to water. But then, the doctor ran a paper towel in steaming hot water and applied it to my arm. He told us to give it another 10 minutes and he'd check out if there were any changes. It felt as if I was getting older with each tick-tock of the clock. When he finally came back and removed the soaking hot paper towels, we all were shocked. The hives had come back because of the steaming water. I couldn't understand what was going on, but the doctor seemed like he had a pretty good idea. He left to call a dermatologist he knew so that we'd be able to move on from here. From that day on, I was given a bunch of medication and creams for my allergy. I just couldn't believe it. I was actually allergic to hot water. My condition was only activated by hot water, like a hot bath or sweat. The irritation usually goes away after 30 minutes, but the worst part was that there was no cure for me. I was doomed to sit out of gym for the rest of my life. No more having fun! For years, I have applied ointments and taken medication so that I could be normal, and not the girl that is allergic to water. And so far, it's working. I don't feel so left out as I did in middle school. I feel like a normal teenager doing normal teenage things, but it all feels like a big fat lie. I hate feeling like I have something to hide all the time. Now I have friends who don't even know about my history with my water allergy, which sometimes makes me feel like I can't talk about myself in risk of them finding out about my secret condition. It really is hard for those like me, those who have this condition and can't even do normal things. I'm called lazy sometimes by my friends joking, but it actually hurts me. I wonder what others with the condition do to feel good about themselves again. I go to a dermatologist all the time to check for changes in my skin, and I always hope for the best. I hope that scientists will find a solution to my condition in the near future, but for now, I'm still learning how to live with it. I wish I knew people who could relate with me and understand what it feels like to not be able to be hot and sweat too much, or forget to take my medication. So far, I'm the only one in my school with this condition, which makes it so hard to express myself at all. I knew that it would be hard after I was diagnosed, but sometimes it's just sad to know that I'm not able to do certain things that I want to. Everyone asks me why I always sit out during gym, and I find myself stuttering, searching my mind for answers. Sometimes I tell them I have a bellyache, and other times I just skip class. I don't want them to get suspicious of why I never play sports. I don't like lying to everyone, but I remember how it used to feel in middle school. I was an outcast, and still am, with an incurable disease that I have to deal with for the rest of my life.